What's going on, Claymore? Good to see you. It has been a while. I'm pretty decent, just busy. Thank you for asking. Hope you've been well as well. Is the music too loud? I always ask this. Oh, man. Okay. Bruce, good to see you too. How's it going? Oh. How are you guys feeling about Black Clover and life in general? And also, for anyone in, I see there's 4 of us right now. If there's anything you guys specifically want to talk about, please do let me know. But I do plan on, going through the last chapter, and maybe even the chapter before that, just to, touch on a couple of things. But there's a few things I do want to talk about. All right. Well, I guess while we wait, maybe a couple more people might join. This is not the regular time for streams, so definitely don't mind if you guys have to go or whatnot. It's irregular, so don't feel obligated to stay. But if you do, thanks. And we'll be going over some pretty cool stuff anyway. I do kind of want to start with something that happened today. I feel like this is a fair talking point, okay? So, I do want to start this off by saying, I know a lot of people have seen this quoted tweet I did from Anime Balls Deep. I have no real ill will against them, and I'm not here to start or talk any kind of shit with anybody. But I do want to say this. I consider myself more or less pretty based person. I have a set of values and morals and ethics, beliefs that I choose to stand by. And I don't waver from those things. And it's probably why my channel is not quite as big as someone like Anime Balls Deep in their group. Because I don't really get into the whole clout chasing thing. And the reason I say that is kind of to speak in their defense here, okay? So if we're going to read the post given here by ABD, it says, wait a second, why didn't Lucius just tell the devil to kill Asta after he defeats Lucifero? He literally admits Asta's the flaw that stops his plan, and the only person he can't use his time magic on. This is definitely a plot hole, makes no sense besides plot armor. So, just when I initially read that, at first I had the same knee-jerk reaction as everyone else, that clearly didn't read the story, blah blah blah. Then I remembered, to be quite frank, I was like a religious watcher of Anime Balls Deep before I even made a YouTube channel. Back when Naruto was still going, and into the earlier parts of Boruto, I was religiously watching ABD for Neverworld, and Naruto explained, and of course Seth explained, and I'm forgetting the other one, or Seth Program Seth, whatever it's called, and then Swag Kage. religiously. And then I came across Black Clover when it dropped. Broku had some theory videos out, and he put me on to not only Black Clover, but really put me on to really like wanting to make content, right? So it's I have to give credit where credit's due. These guys have built a successful channel and have done successful things. Now, I think when I ended up making my Twitter and seeing the stuff they post and stuff, I got to see more of like where their mindset is. And to be honest, it's smart in a way, because these types of posts, they're not dumb people at all. Very intelligent, but it's a whole marketing thing, and I just want everyone to understand that it's something that's said to really gain the attention from people, to interact with them, and it's worked. I mean, look at it. It's when you want more eyes, people tend to start needless crap. Now, while this might have just 292 likes, 42 quote tweets really just roasting them. Look at the amount of views this post has gotten. 60,000 views. And while that might, again, not translate into likes and positive quoted tweets, or even comments for that matter, the thing is that when they drop a video discussing this topic, everyone's going to be all over it. And that's the point of this. So while I may or may not agree with some of the things that people are saying in these tweets or in the comments, I just do want to say, like, again, there's no ill feelings against these people. It's just, it's just not the type of person I am. So when I call out cloud chasing, that's all I'm doing, and it's nothing personal whatsoever. However, I do want to talk about this. I think we've talked about it we have talked about it on this channel multiple times before, and I remember calling this exact same thing out when it happened, but I did not arrive at the conclusion that it's a plot hole. Just because it's very obvious, of course, with Adremalek giving Asta that little glare before he flies away, right? Tells us that he knows something's going on. And, I put in here that my conclusion is that he recognizes at least the power of anti-magic, or the no magicness of Asta, or both. But maybe not necessarily Asta and or Liebe. If you've been sticking around this channel for a while, you know that I believe that either or one of those boys, or both, is Lucifer incarnate. And I have a series of videos talking about how that can be the case, and we'll probably end up talking about more about the specifics behind the exact mechanics of why these boys could be Lucifer. So I felt like it was only fair to start out with that. I just don't want, like, things to progress in such a negative way. But just so you guys know who you're dealing with, I'm just not a cloud chaser. Again, I just feel I've been a very base person for a very long time, and I will remain that way. What you see is what you get. So, anyway, let's see. Only Truth. Hey Jack, you should check out the book Napoleon, one of history's greatest military leaders. He looks exactly like Julius. Yeah, I mean, I think I've talked about Napoleon on my channel. Only Truth, you have a habit of recommending me things that I've talked about on this channel before. But I did talk about Napoleon in regards to Lucius, because he is one of the antichrists that the world has had. So check that video out. Doesn't seem like you have. Claymore, what'd you say? Can we discuss what is missing? The missing piece of Asta's being so he can be completed. We know Liebe is his opposite. What is above, so is below, but something is missing. Okay. I think the general topic for today will go over that missing piece. So let's start with this. Let's start with reading the latest chapter. I'm going to read it through TCB because, of course, Viz is going to freak out if I use their stuff. So yeah, so here, dude, I hate that. There's so many ads on this, but what can you do, right? So the dragon looks defeated. We know it's not by now, but the master dragon falls. I do want to say the defeat initially of this dragon was effortless, really. And it brings me into another topic, just in regards to like magic power and how much of it is being used when these guys perform Zeton and go into the respective transformations, because it seems like a ridiculous amount. So we start off with a bit of a flashback from Ichika's perspective. We're gonna need your strength in this fight, get that pushed up, then come over. Besides, we used up a lot of your Yoku, but we don't need that fool's power. We'll end this ourselves. So Ichika she's just got this grudge, right, against our boy Asta that to me has made no sense up until this chapter. So this part here is that her saying that they've used up a lot of their magic power is really weird, right? Because jumping into these transformations, I'm sure, is a pretty big toll on the reserve of magic power that they have. But to be out of it after one attack, I don't know. It just seems like, I don't know. Something seems a bit inconsistent. And, I'm not a power scaler either, so I may not just be understanding what's happening in that respect. But to have a transformation and then pull off exactly one attack per reason there just doesn't really sit right with me. And then Lily did acknowledge, like, they have a lot of magic power, just nowhere near close to a paladin, of course, which is reasonable. So I'm a little bit confused by that, but whatever. So here we go. We got Lily pulling up on Ichika with all kinds of disrespect. I wonder if you all can avoid this one. I believe she says something truer to like you guys are strong, but I wonder if you can avoid this next attack. So then we start seeing these little rips in space, is what I'll call them. And Heath's like trademark line, it's time. He's all about time, all the time. So this was a combo magic spell. Ice and spatial magic, Affinity Glacier. So, to speak on the paladins, I don't think Heath and I think it's pronounced Yrul. I'm just gonna say Yrul. But I don't think they have dual attributes like Lily is said to have. Now, I'm also a bit confused as to why Lily hasn't used any water magic. I'm very, very curious. It could be the simple fact that she doesn't really need to use it, but she hasn't really pulled off any crazy feats with spatial magic alone. So it just makes me curious. Her craziest feat, of course, was yeeting Asta and stopping Noelle, Mimosa, and Sekre. That's cool, but she didn't really do anything with that either. So, what exactly can Lily do that makes her not want to use water magic, which is very potent? She almost waxed Asta in the first chapter. I mean, I'd be using it if I were her. Anyway, Heath just describes this attack, an inescapable attack from every direction. The attack's cool. I feel like it could have been easily avoided. I'm not quite sure why. I mean, I can see the value of the attack. I don't know. Something just feels off about it. I don't know. So he's saying it's the most efficient way to deal with this lot. Let's keep going. All right, so you can see Ichika's running out of power here. Can I skip this ad? I want the ad to be completely gone. Like, I don't want to skip anything. Just go away. What is this? Oh, there it is. Okay. So yeah, her mask is all gone. Our Kisune looks a bit tattered up, but she's not out of the fight. Not yet, at least. The quantity of the magic power is absurd. Of course it is. Oh, you're really worth slashing the ribbons. She's just nuts. Crazy. Okay, now Yrul pops up. So what's next? I like that she's stoked, but we can see that, these dual personalities I've been talking about for a while now, right? And he goes in for his beast magic. Now we know it's coming, right? Boogeyman. Comes in the form of a frog initially. Keizokaku freaks out. Apparently she doesn't like frogs. There's nothing really big that goes into this. I have looked up if there are any, like, particular run-ins with a toad and a kitsune. Nothing really big. The only thing that I can really say is that frogs in general in Japanese culture are something auspicious, something lucky, right? It's a good thing to see a toad. Now, there is one case of a toad where it's almost similar to a kitsune, just in the way that kitsune, by the age of 100 and on, will start getting stronger exponentially, and start hitting like godlike realms of power. Not to say that toads will hit godlike powers, but there are cases where toads in mythology have lived long enough to obtain more supernatural powers and grow to pretty enormous sizes. And there's only one particular case where toads will get so big where they start viewing humans as prey. And it really still isn't even that big of a deal. And really just comes down to, like, if you are infringing on their territory or something like that. So nothing huge, but when you get to Kitsune, and she seems really bloodlusted, right? You could maybe put up an argument that she's not just a Kitsune, but what's called a no Kitsune, which is the evil kind of Kitsune. Now, Kitsune in general can be either or, and they really fall into like a median of both. They just do whatever they want. Whatever benefits them is what happens. Now, you do have ones that are benevolent mostly. Then you have ones that do nothing but evil. Those are the no Kitsune. Now, again, we could put up an argument that she is a no Kitsune, which would make sense here with the toad, where it's more of a lucky symbol, more of a benevolent symbol, that she would be scared of something like that. But that's not really the argument that I would take, to be honest, because she is defending an entire country. Anyway, we go on. This is the real shape of the boogeyman. So the boogeyman is a beast that evokes the memories and fears of its targets and literally becomes them. So this beast, I meant to put up my short, and I'm just now forgetting, or remembering that I forgot to put it up. But I'll put it up maybe later or tomorrow, hopefully. I did make a post about this, but here we go. So if you guys haven't seen the movie Gremlins, oh, I don't want this. I want the actual manga. Maybe I might be spelling it wrong right now. Here we go. Chinese culture. So, this is based on a real thing, and even in the movie Gremlins, if you guys haven't seen it, it's a cult classic, honestly. The first one. All the rest are kind of trash, unless you like comedy. So, the entire point of the Mowgli is exactly how it's depicted here, and I'll read it to you. It's very short, pretty simple, and there's one more variation of the Mowgli. If I can remember what it is specifically, we'll look that up as well. But I'm not recalling it right now. But anyway, according to Chinese tradition, Mogwai are certain demons which often inflict harm on humans. They are said to reproduce sexually during mating seasons triggered by the coming of rain. So if you've seen Gremlins, you know that they say don't give it water. And of course that doesn't happen, so they become gremlins. And they multiply. Right? So supposedly they take care to breed at these times because rain signifies rich and full times ahead. The term Mo derives from the Sanskrit Mara, which means evil beings, or literally death. In Hinduism and Buddhism, Mara means fates of death and desire that tether people to an unending cycle of reincarnation and suffering. Now, the reason why I'm attached to this thing being more so a Mowgli is because that they do bring up that this thing has a lot to do with tethering people to a topic we've been talking about, which are the 6 paths of reincarnation, or the 6 paths of pain. He leads people to sin, misdeeds, and self-destruction. Meanwhile, Gui does not necessarily mean evil or demonic spirits. Classically, it simply means deceased spirits or souls of the dead. Now, this particular part we do see coming next here, right? where, oh, that's not it. Where now it takes the form of Ichika's father, right? And he, of course, is a dead soul or dead spirit. But here's the stipulation. They do say non-family members. Ghosts of non-family members, excuse me. So that's the one stipulation that kind of made me second guess, but you do have to also take into consideration that artists will take their own depiction of something and write it their way. So maybe this could be the Mowgli, and Tabata is just excluding this particular part out of it. It could be, but again, like I said, there is another variation of this being. I'm straight up not remembering. Hopefully I get to it pretty soon before it becomes irrelevant here. But anyway, it takes the form, or let's see, it's evolved to refer usually to spirits or ghosts of non-family members that may take vengeance on living humans who caused them pain. And this is exactly what Ichika did, right? When they were still living. It is common for the living to redress their sins by sacrificing money to Gui by burning, usually fake, paper banknotes so that Gui can have funds to use in their afterlife. So just an interesting side note, right? And I was really in it just for this. Because almost everything that has been coming out, that we've been talking about, leads right back here to the cycle of reincarnation. And it's a big thing. It's been a thing since the beginning of this series. Reincarnation, incarnations, and all that stuff. So anyway, he says, for example, so he shows Ichika what's going on. And Ichika's father pops up. This is, of course, still the Mowgli. Now, I don't know how I feel about the concept of this beast magic Mowgli thing, right? Because I do this every fucking stream. So let's take it in Naruto route, right? We would consider this a genjutsu, an illusion, right? Now, a genjutsu is not just some arbitrary illusion that you like pop up like, oh, here's an elephant rushing at you, but it's really like fake. It's not really an elephant rushing at you. It doesn't exist. The thing is that genjutsu disrupted the person's chakra flow, which made them experience a series of emotions that made the experience real itself, even though they were there to witness the genjutsu being cast. Now, back here, we have the Mowgli, and he's explaining it to her, like, straight up. She just saw the thing. Well, to be fair, I'm not sure if she can see that it's a frog necessarily right now. Maybe she can. But anyway, she saw it go from this and turn into her father. Now, if that were me, I'd be like, okay, like, guy was an asshole anyway. Like, I'll fight him. I'm running hands. I don't care, like, who's in front of me. But I did literally just see a monster transform in front of me. I'm not gonna be hopping in my feelings over stuff that happened a long time ago. I'm sorry. But you know what? I don't have the luxury of saying that I've killed my entire clan. So, you know, there's a lot that goes behind it, of course. But anyway, it continues to say, it's true that I suffered abuse as a child, so it would target that as my fear, but the way I am now, a cheap trick like that won't work. Well, she was going to say it won't work. Then it's the flashback that starts coming back, right? She's saying, God damn it, just how long do I have to live like this? Until another war? They've all lost their edge, pacified by peace. This ain't what the Yami clan's supposed to be. So we can tell this guy is driven by war and violence, right? And that was really the purpose of this clan, was to provide protection to the land. So Ichika's still, going through the memories. These are my memories. It's kind of weird that these are triggering these memories, and maybe that's the purpose of this actual beast magic, right? But anyway, she's getting these little glimpses here, right? She's now remembering some of the more profound moments leading up to the massacre. So we're not going to say Sukihiro around these parts. It's still Yami. Yami, with our power, we can rebuild the once proud Yami clan. And he's like, just like, what are you talking about, shitty guy? And he says this is an Oni pill, or I believe he said demon soul pill. in the actual official, something like that. He says, take it. It jacks up your bloodlust and latent magic power at an explosive rate. A secret drug that our clans pass down for generations. Now, I believe that's Ichika saying stop. And he says, why don't you have a try? This much should do the trick, even for someone like you. Now, we remember that girls really don't have a place amongst the ranks when it comes to the hierarchy of like Shogun, the daimyo, and all that stuff. It's actually kind of opposite. As women get older, they gain more power. And it's kind of a weird relationship, but they really just don't respect the women as they are, essentially. So now we have people from the clan running away, of course, and this is Ichika's perspective. They're running away from her. As we can see here, he's about to yell her name, but I'm sure she cuts him down. Now, before this had initially been posted up on TCB, I had made a post just kind of pondering the situation where we do have Yami who has a devil's heart already, right? And I posed the question that what if, upon his leave, he had taken some of these drugs with him to the Four Kingdoms in the event that he might need them for whatever reason. And then at some point, maybe during the Advent, he took it in hopes to be able to help against the fight, against the Triad, Morris, and then even, of course, Lucifero. At what point he would have done that, I don't even know. But I do think it's worth thinking about. But then the chapter dropped. He obviously took it already. He was forced to take it. So both him and Ichika took this. So now I'm wondering if Ichika as well has the heart of a devil, which I would assume has to, right? If we're going to keep semantics up, right? So she's experiencing that she's the one who killed her family, and that she is the shitty person, and not Yami. And Yami has been nothing but a great brother. Now, I do want to say this, right? She goes through this, so let's kind of read through this, and then I'll kind of double back here. So, on the verge of death or being killed, this guy, their father, is just an absolute menace. He doesn't even care. But he says, I never thought you'd be this powerful. You really were my kid after all, huh, Ichika? And of course he gets struck down. Then we have Ryu saying telling her the truth would be too painful. And she's now realizing that she's the one who's at fault here, right? She says, am I the one who massacred my clan? It's not possible. If that were true, my whole life of hatred and resentment was all meaningless, which it was, right? So now, I want to go back, right? We see that Yami clearly took this pill. He's undergoing some adverse effects here, but nothing near the extent that Ichika went through, right? Tweeted about this as well. I'm thinking that this pill is more of a speed run of a contract, right? Something that we see with Noct and the Foss family. However, this is an all or nothing. With the Faustian bargain, or the devil binding, you have the option to have whatever amount of power over the devil that you want, right? You can have 100%, as we see with Asa, 50-50. We don't really know if Noct has like a 100% contract with his devils, but we can definitely say it's considerably lower than 50%. So with this, I do believe that these are more so connected to Supreme Devils. Now, the origin of the pills, I'm not quite sure where or how they would have got this. Now, it could be that contracts are a thing. Now, we did see Xenon take a full-on heart from Beelzebub. Now, I don't think it's Beelzebub's own heart, but, a heart was made. So I'm wondering if you can make a contract and, have a piece of their heart, right? That would allow it to be able to fester inside of a human body. However, its potency would depend on maybe the magic power of the person who took it, plus the magical attribute of the person who took it. Of course, Yami and Ichigo have dark magic, right? So we do have devils that are compatible, or a devil in particular, that is compatible with dark magic. Now, I am currently of the thought, that could totally be wrong, that Yami may have successfully taken on the soul of Belphegor. There are a lot of things that point Yami to Belphegor, which we've been over in other videos and on multiple tweets. So I won't go over it today, but for Ichigo, her dark magic is very, very special, right? She's able to make black stars, and if you guys remember, I went on a huge tangent both on stream and a pretty long tweet thread about how black stars would become relevant, and I attributed it to Yami. Number one, because it seemed that black stars were shown in the formation of the Black Bulls, but at that point we had no idea that he had a sister. And then she used black stars for a technique. So it is definitely going the direction that we think it's been going for a while. It's just these minor twists and turns, well, I guess major twists and turns here, where we have to kind of adjust what we're attributing what to. So now, let's catch up, blah, 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 you feel bad, we don't care. All right, so now, big guy's up, everyone's back up. They're just tattered, bruised up, out of Yorinoku, it looks like. We're the guardians of this nation, we can't afford to fall. And I love that he says this, because this really fits the 5 Deva thing, the Bodai that we were talking about a couple streams ago, if not last stream. But his temperament would be pride, which is a sin. And remember, we went over the temperaments of the Bodai as well, or the 5 Devas, rather. So she says, don't worry, in just a little while, Lucius will bring all true happiness and peace. So, be at ease and rest in peace. So now, these guys are completely out of hope. They're out of shape. I've never seen a one and done team. You know, like, the Spirit Guardians just got wiped out without a second thought, really. The same with the Diamond Kingdom mages, with minus like Ludros and Mars, right? But these guys put up a good fight, like for 5 seconds, and then they're just completely done. So, you know, I don't know how I feel about that, to be honest with you. But we'll see. The fight's not over, and we'll get into potential transformations, or a particular transformation that I'm waiting on. So Ichigo's saying, I can't lose myself to this. Oh, it sounds like she wants to surpass her limits, you guys. Keep your spirit firm, make your body move. Yeah, it sounds like she wants to surpass her limits. I'm strong, or at least I thought I was. But in the end, was I really this weak, right? And yes, she was, internally, mentally, and spiritually unsound. However, she's very strong physically. So, he's coming down with a sword. Asta is everyone's brother, so of course we have Asta blocking that sword and reminding her of Yami. And this is really what's going to, of course, win over Asta in her eyes, right? Especially now that she knows that she's the one at fault and Yami's done nothing but protect her, even from herself. What do you think you're doing to my, not benefactor, but sugar daddy? If you didn't see that post, you guys. Simple Google search. Benefactor. Let's see. Did I find it here? Or is it a Merriam? Okay, no, it might be here. So I was like, we gotta find a better word for this, because it's just not gonna do it for me. Oh, it's not gonna be up here. Damn. Anyway. Synonyms. Backer, contributor, patron, philanthropist, promoter, protector, supporter, aid, altruist, angel. What do you think you're doing to my angel? Assistant, fan, helper, humanitarian, mark, sponsor, subscriber. Thank you to my benefactors on this channel. Subsidizer, well-wisher, good Samaritan, Santa Claus. I don't know. I kind of like that one. I didn't see that originally. Can I go back? What do you think you're doing to my Santa Claus? that's way better than benefactor, I think. Fairy godparent, I love that. What do you think you're doing to my fairy godparent? My grub staker. What do you think you're doing to my grub staker? It could have gone so much better, I think. Someone did point out that Ichika did use the word benefactor earlier, so that's where he picked up the word, because it didn't seem natural at first to me. But since she did say it, I see why he said it. But I do want to say that sugar daddy is and was an option, and Viz totally dropped the ball. So it should be, what do you think you're doing to my sugar daddy? So, just saying. Now, back to like the real stuff, right? I think that this is really a cool thing, because not only is she Asta reminding her of Yami, and like it says down here, Yami's will, right? But it's the sword as well. Yami has more or less traveled all this way through his katana, still to protect his sister through Asta. I mean, Yami's the big brother of the year, like of the century, really. He's been protecting her her entire life. And still now, while it's not him directly, that sword has had many feats. And to be the one to protect Ichika from that, what would be a fatal blow, says everything about Yami's character, even though he's not there. Just saying. So that's the end of the chapter. There are still things to talk about. Let me just see if I miss any. Oh, you guys aren't saying too much. Avalak, do you think there is more to the Ichika thing? More in terms of what? Because, like, of course, there's the, like, why did she go berserk? What exactly happened? Like, the mechanics of the pill and all that stuff. Of course, there's more to that. But if you're thinking, like, is there another twist? Like, you know, she wasn't the only one who killed her clan. Something like that. I don't think so. I think this is it. Now, could there still be stuff? Sure. I just don't really have any ideas for that personally. AJ, you said, why haven't we seen 5-4 and Asta since Spade? I think that's a fair question. I do think the biggest reason is that between him and Libe, remember that union is something that that really only happened successfully because both of their minds and hearts were moving in the same direction for the same reasons. In that moment in time, they were fighting the exact thing that killed both of their moms, kind of robbed them of a normal life, right? Or as normal as it can get. And they both felt a way about that, right? And Liebe was able to share that experience with Asta directly, and they were able to understand one another on a very, very spiritual level. All thanks to Lucifera. And so that bred this new being with that fifth horn. If he was able to use that fifth horn, I don't see why he'd be holding back, you know. So I just think it's a matter of both Liebe and Asta feeling a type of way towards a certain situation for the exact same reason. Now, Liebe really hasn't said more than 10 words in this arc yet, so Liebe is just along for the ride, to be honest. And he shouldn't really feel a way about anything. Keep in mind, he's still a devil. He's got no real attachment to this physical world. If anything, Asta should really be the only human that he trusts, along with, of course, Lucida. Of course, he doesn't really mess with devils, so, I mean, why would he feel a way about anything aside from that? So, you know, it's just one of those things, but I do think that's more or less the reason why we haven't seen that fifth horn again. What's up, Gene? Like, you guys, if you guys haven't checked out, like, Gene's post on Twitter, definitely do so. He's got such a cool idea about an original story that he's writing, and I'm kind of jealous that I haven't even thought about it myself, because I've been running wild with the idea, like, in my head. But anyway, the power system is based on, like, dreams and stuff. It's really cool. Anyway, Sunjimu, because they can't do it at will. Oh, you answered my question. Cool. Okay, so let's talk about... Let's go back up. let's just start talking lore. Let's start making sense out of what's going on. Okay, let's talk about this pill. So here we go. This is called the Pill of Immortality. And I'm going to read it to you because, again, it is short. The Pill of Immortality was an elixir or pill sought by Chinese alchemists to confer physical or spiritual immortality. The search for the pill was started several centuries BC, of course that means Black Clover, and continued until 500 AD, which means... Yeah, I got nothing. Anyway, and was often based on gold. Now, if you've been watching these videos, we have talked about the alchemical product of gold and why that's important. Its search was supported by the emperors and the nobility of China, with a strong tradition in Taoism. The alchemical tradition in China was divided into two differing schools in search for the Pill of Immortality. Taoist sects, which advocated the attainment of immortality by consuming substances, were very popular during the Han Dynasty in the 2nd century AD, and they were collectively known as the School of the External Pill. Internal alchemy was thought to create the immortal body within the corporeal body, and a variety of actions involving dietary, respiratory, and sexual practices and/or mental practices such as meditation were believed to cause immortality. Now you see the theme here, right? With Black Clover and Lucius's perfect bodies, this is the goal. I don't think Lucius's goal has been anything new to that universe. However, his approach to it might be something quite new. And a few streams ago, we did talk about how I do believe that Lucius and the Triad are probably more than likely tied to Hino directly. So we do have to question, this is not a question I've seen, bouncing around at all, really. Let's go back to the start of this flashback. Let's see. So we have Ishika's father. He's getting drunk. He's wasting his days away because he wants to fight. He needs purpose in life. Now, if you ask me, this is a really good depiction of someone who, a veteran of war, who's experienced intense situations, has survived through it, found thrill in it, and is suffering from a form of PTSD which causes this type of behavior, drowning himself in, substance abuse and abusing people around him, because he found his purpose on the battlefield, really. And you guys, we talked about this, I think, maybe, but imagine, like, when you guys watch a movie like X-Men, I experienced this the first time, I think, watching Narnia, and I like using Narnia as an example, where you walk through a wardrobe and you end up in this land full of centaurs, talking lions, minotaurs, mermaids, all this stuff. You go to war, you are fighting on the back of like a flying horse, a Pegasus, right? You've won a battle against the Ice Queen, and then you walk back. You live your entire life there, right? They lived up until the age of I want to say early 30s, maybe. As kings and queens, they stumble back across the wardrobe that they forgot about, and right back up in the real world, and they're kids again, because only a couple seconds have passed by. And how do you bring yourself down from an experience like that? You've literally lost a piece of what made you you, right? And now you're back into this life, regular old life as a kid in Britain, in the middle of a war, that you have no hopes of successfully fighting. It takes a toll. And this is what he's going through psychologically. So this is what I really like about him. But we haven't really questioned what were they at war with, or who were they at war with. We did see the bandits in the beginning. Now, I do believe that there are other clans out there that might rival the Kijin here, which are the Yami clan, right? And the Yami clan had gotten so powerful at a point that no one really messed with them. They were like, it's probably not even worth the struggle, or they've been planning behind the scenes to maybe not take on the Yami clan and the forces of Hino directly, but in other ways. And I am thinking that Lucius and the Triad are directly connected to this, to this land, really. And it's the black hair, the connection to devils that they have. Of course, they seem rather close to devils in this land, and definitely not surprised by the sight of a devil, as we saw with Liebe and the medical guy, whatever his name is, working on him. Even though he's never worked on a devil, he didn't really seem surprised that it was a devil. So, and even Ryu didn't really care. He was like, "Oh yeah, the devil guy, yeah, we got him taken care of." So, that's kind of what I'm thinking. Is that's the connection there, and this pill of immortality, or this demon pill, this demon soul pill, was one of the ways to achieve this. And Lucius, through whatever means, may have taken this concept and exacerbated it and made it to something more feasible and something easier to achieve for the masses, for everybody, right? And it seems that he has a particular vendetta against Hino, because Hino seems so far out of the way. They weren't really bothering anyone. No one was going to come over and stop this guy. To be honest with you, if not for Asta landing there, I don't think they really would have cared. Like, especially if Lucius was just like, yeah, Hino's just Hino, whatever. We're going to focus on the Four Kingdoms. I don't think they would have done anything. But Lucius went out of his way to try and destroy that land. So it seems that it's a bit more personal. There's something behind this. But you never know. It could definitely be wrong. I did pull up this other site that kind of gets into the more realistic aspect of the pill with immortality here. And we'll just kind of read through it real quick. The pill or elixir of immortality is a fictitious medicine with deep roots in Chinese mythology that is said to be able to bring the dead back to life and to grant everlasting life to the consumer. Some also believe that with ancient self-cultivation, consuming a pill of immortality will allow a person to rise to heaven and become a deity. Despite often being referred to as an elixir in English, the fabled medicine only comes in pilled form. They are most often portrayed as seemingly mundane, small, dark brown spheres that can easily be swallowed and are contained in a gourd. Many deities, such as the... Wait. Is that what he's drinking? I didn't even peep that, like, it's contained in a gourd, and this guy is, like, it's attached to him, right? And that's literally, like, I mean, I don't want to say literally a gourd, because, like, you can have a cantina in that shape, but, like, look at it. Huh. Has this guy just been, like, shoveling that shit down his throat, maybe? That's kind of crazy if that is. But, like, I wonder... Because if he was, then like the reactions that Yami and Ichika had are pretty profound, and I want to know why. Interesting. I want to know who their mom is. I think that's going to be the most important thing here. Anyway. Okay. So, yeah, it says here, many deities such as the Queen Mother of West are depicted holding gourds containing pills of immortality in one hand. For thousands of years, Chinese emperors sought immortality through alchemy, with records describing efforts mainly focused on mercury, sulfur, carbon, tin, lead, copper, gold, silver, and even jade. Dozens of tools were created to aid in the search, including the alchemy furnace, mercury extractor, silk sieve, and many more. Though it is unclear how many people ironically died in the search of the pill of immortality, some believe that at least Qin Shi Huang, Emperor Taizong of Tang, and Yongzheng Emperor fell victim over time toward the end of their lives due to excessive intake and long-term exposure to heavy metals in the body. I just thought it was interesting, because as you can see, this guy was pretty much driven to madness here. So I wonder if maybe the way he was acting was not only in part due to being exposed to intense war situations, but maybe if that's not just alcohol and it's some of those pills, then yeah, that would definitely give rise to why, or give reason to why he was so abusive as a father. But just goes to show you that almost anything, right, can be found in the mythology. When you read about this stuff and you look up stuff about all of this, from the Mowgli to that pill, everything seems to have this place, right? Those are the slightly bigger topics I wanted to talk about here. Now, I do still have a topic about our girl Keizokaku's next transformation that might mean a lot to not just her, but the rest of the Reeves and Asta, of course, which would be kind of special. And then something that we did see in the other chapter before this, or maybe the one before that. But let me get your guys' takes. Like, what do you think about like the pill that we just read about? What do you guys think about the Mowgli stuff? Give me your thoughts while I get us all set up here. Just press previous. Yeah, give me your thoughts. Like, I want to know. I don't get to talk to you guys. The last time I talked to you guys was like 4 weeks ago. Let's chop it up. Man, my computer's slow today. Oh, so no one wants to talk to me, huh? That's how it is. That's how it is. All right. I see. I'm not hurt. I'm not crying. What? It's not. It's definitely not taking it personally. It's definitely not me. No, not me. Okay, let's get back to this then. Okay. Don't care about y'all. You little stupid ass. I ain't fucking with you. Was it in this chapter? It might have been the last chapter. Yeah, it was. Because Asa was even shown in this chapter, huh? Okay, let me get back to the top here. Go to the last one. Go back down. Previously in Black Clover. Okay, here we go. So, we did a lot of talking about the subject a few streams ago when this chapter dropped. But there's a lot of things that happens that's happening in this picture, right? That seems to depict the 8 trigrams yin and yang symbol. For those that might not know what that is, I'll do a quick search for it. Yin and yang, 8 trigrams. So, it's the one that shows all of these paths, right? Surrounding the yin and yang. So, these staircases, to me, seem to represent those 8 paths. Kind of jumped the gun there. Then we have the tree in the middle. And it's not just a tree. It's a rock. It's a rock. SpongeBob watchers out there? Anyway. The tree has what's called this rope around it that you can see. That is called a Shimegala. The purpose of that is to draw deities into it. And then pacify them. Just a quick refresher. I know a lot of you are just like regular viewers of streams, so sorry to like go over it, but there are, some new people here that I'm seeing. What's going on, Bandit? So the reason they have to pacify deities, even if it's a benevolent god, is because when they're drawn down to the physical realm, they come initially unhappy, angry. It's called the Midama soul. And they have to perform an exorcism of sorts. They call it pacification rituals. It's called harai in Japanese, or oharai in masses. So they have to do this to make sure that the god doesn't just go rogue and give in to the angry part of themselves. And they're very specific in saying that there are 3 parts to any particular deity. And it's two main parts and a third that comes along with it that is more or less mentioned here and there. So that's the purpose of this rope. Now, the rope around this tree makes this tree turn into what is called a shintai. Now, the shintai is the object or person that has taken in that deity because of the Shiminawa. So now, this tree is not just a tree. This tree is, I don't want to say deity, but it can channel a deity and be worshipped as such, but it is not one. Confusing thought, I know. But anyway, going to this tree, was trying to place it for a very long time, but this is specifically a Bodhi fig tree. Now, will we get into like the mythology of it here? I don't know if I'm in the right place necessarily. But this tree, to sum up the more important part of this tree, the importance of the Bodhi tree is that this is where Buddha was found meditating, right? I want to say that he died meditating under this tree, or is at least found meditating under this tree. Let's try looking up Buddha and Bodhi tree. Whoa, tree with 3 E's? Feeling extra spicy tonight. Okay. Oh, I guess I could have just, let's see. Buddha. Okay, so, it says it right here. So it says the Siddhartha Gautama. It's like a type of enlightened being. The spiritual teacher and founder of Buddhism, later known as Gautama Buddha, achieved the Bodhi, spiritual enlightenment, while sitting under the tree. So he didn't die under the tree, my bad. But he did achieve spiritual enlightenment. What have we been talking about for like ever now? Since we arrived in Hino, pretty much. Enlightenment. And this tree, it looks just like the tree that's there. I mean, to me at least. Then we have the mixture of our Ryuzen friends here. And the one in particular, the one with the biwa instrument that's playing the song in the tree. We talked about how it's possible that he has a magic very close to Zagred's that is not Kotodama magic, but instead Kotodama magic, or in short, Kodama magic, which is the effort of reaching enlightenment through sounds and vibrations, essentially. And this can be done through words, or specifically through biwa. Now, they do specify that instrument when it comes to enlightenment, and was even said to be carried by Benzaiten in one of her many forms. So, and if you're not clear on who Benzaiten is, celestial deity, as we know, celestial maiden, as they call her. My disc is almost full. Your disc is almost full. But she's one of the guardians of the way of Buddhism. Okay, so the biwa is a very important instrument. Now, we also have a theory that we're on the lookout for, so we'll see if it comes true. Usually, characters that carry a biwa in real time, that are protecting the way of Buddhism, which seem to be the Ryuzen 7, most specifically the 5 devas on the battlefield right now, are said to be blind. So I am looking at this guy as him possibly being blind. I don't know. We'll see. But I do like the cat that's next to him. Could be a seeing eye cat for all we know. But I did want to point out that Bodhi tree. I think it's really cool. But now let's get into the main topic, and hopefully the person who asked about it, Claymore. This is more or less going to address your request of a topic. So, excuse me, taking a jump. There is, as you can see from the thumbnail, it says Yin and Yang magic. So, we have what's called Onmyodo. And this is where things get really kind of cool. And this would put the Ryuzen and Hino in general in a different spot than it is in the Four Kingdoms, right? And it kind of makes sense out of a lot of things here. And it leads us back into some other ideas that we've already talked over. We'll kind of go through it. But let's kind of pick this apart. So I will just talk about the Onmyodo portion of this, because I do think we did talk about the Onmyodo in general, just being yin and yang magic. But Onmyodo was one of the classifications of civil servants belonging to the Bureau of Onmyo in ancient Japan's Ritsuryo system. People with this title were professional practitioners of Onmyodo. And just to be clear, Onmyodo literally means the way of yin and yang. Let's go back. Onmyodo were specialists in magic and divination. And now we see that they, of course, know magic, and Ryu has divination. Their court responsibilities range from tasks such as keeping track of the calendar to mystical duties such as divination and protection of the capital from evil spirits. They could divine auspicious or harmful influences in the earth, and were instrumental in moving of capitals. Like, everything that's being said here, we have seen in Hino. It is said that an Onmyodo can also summon and control Shikigami. Now, Shikigami are just, they're generally made of paper, but they draw, like, evil spirits into them to do their bidding. I don't know if we'll see that in particular. It'd be really cool if we did, but I'm just not too sure about that. During the Heian period, the nobility organized their lives around practices recommended by Onmyodo, the practice of lucky and unlucky directions. Now remember, a lot of people were talking about how the Ryuzen 7 could be correspondent to the 7 lucky gods of Buddhism, but realize they have the unlucky directions here as well. This gives you that bipolar nature that we see amongst pretty much all of the Ryuzen. I would say maybe minus our Thunder chick or Lightning chick and the Wind guy, but we did paint those as the 2 oddballs of all of them so far. Depending on the season, time of the day, and other circumstances, a particular direction might be bad luck for an individual. If one's house is located in that direction, such an individual is advised not to go back directly to his house, but had to change direction. They call it katatage. Sorry, not guy. By going in different direction and lodging there. Such a person would not dare go in the forbidden direction, but stayed where they were, even if that resulted in absence from the court or passing up invitations from influential people. Famous Onmyodo include Kamo no Yasunori and Abe no Seimei. After Seimei's death, Emperor Ichijo had a shrine erected at his home in Kyoto. Onmyodo had political clout during the Heian period, but in later times when the imperial court fell into decline, their state patronage was lost completely. In modern-day Japan, Onmyodo are defined as a type of priest, and although there are many who claim to be mediums and spiritualists, the Onmyodo continue to be a hallmark occult figure. So just very interesting things, right? I do want to say as a side note, I'm forgetting his name off the top of my head right now, but he's a pretty popular figure in Japan. But while I'm thinking about it, let's open up one more tab here. There is a one-eyed shogun, and it's just very interesting. That's his name, Masamune. Now we know the word Masamune from the sword of Masamune, right? And this guy has a really cool, like, little backstory. Nothing crazy as far as, like, mythology goes, because he is a real, like, person. But notice they call him the one-eyed dragon of Oshu, right? And now we know the land mass that they're in as Hino. There are also islands with their own particular name. I believe they're moving the people to Goshu right now. So I'm wondering if we might find an Oshu later on. But in particular, to call him the one-eyed dragon and Ryu, both of his names, imply that he's the master dragon or the head dragon, right? So I think that's very cool. We have not seen his katana or anything like that yet. So I'm just going to be on the lookout for that. But I think if you guys want to do any reading by yourself, this is the one to do it for. Date Masamune, his whole history is pretty cool. He dies in a really unclimactic way. There's no real mystery about the guy, but still pretty cool history nonetheless. But anyway, so yeah, this yin and yang magic, what seems to be happening with the Ryuzen, like we've kind of talked about before, is that we do see some type of, just separate personality that does not really reflect on the original personality of the Ryuzen in question, right? So we kind of first experienced this with Ichika, where she's really, really cool to like Ryu, but when it comes to Asta and all that, she becomes more severe, right, and very unforgiving for no real reason. It's very irrational. And then we have, of course, Keizokaku, who goes from that to this, and completely bloodlusted, right, and then turns into a kitsune. This is telling me that there is a separation, and they find value in both sides of this coin, right? In the yin and yang symbol. You're not supposed to strive for just yin. You're not supposed to strive for just yang. You're supposed to strive for that balance, right? Of course, that's common knowledge, I feel like. But one of the things that is discussed into some of the more intermediate texts about yin and yang is that ultimately you lose that dichotomy, meaning there now is no line. There's no white, there's no black. There just is. And this brings you into the singular portion of being. If I can remember. Let's see if I can. The names are they're eluding me right now because there's so many Buddhas, but there are Buddhas with like 3 aspects to them, but then they also talk about the one with 2 and the one with 1 aspect, the Gautama Buddha. Let's see, triple Buddha maybe. There we go. So we've had a multitude of mixtures of types of beings, really, in Black Clover. We've mainly been seeing like this dualistic aspect, where there are 2 souls, trying to do their own thing essentially, or striving to one singular point, like Asta and Liebe are, and as well as and the spirit within him. They do talk about the 3 bodies here. Now we do have instances, I will say in particular that Asta and Liebe, of course, are like identical, right? And we've talked a lot about that already. But they're also more or less identical with Alan as well. Alan Fierain, who is Xenon's best friend, or former best friend, which could end up playing. I don't think Alan's story is done quite yet. I do think something more is happening that could maybe connect back to Asta and Liebe. What that is, I'm not sure, and how that will be pulled off, again, I am not sure. However, the 3 bodies thing is not a coincidence. Now, it starts getting down to less bodies. And hopefully they go over this somewhere. Maybe not? Okay. Anyway. But they do talk about how there's the double soul, right? And these are the ones that are really the end up becoming devas, essentially, because they stop themselves from attaining Buddhahood and that enlightenment, so that they may coach and encourage others to follow that path and escape the realm of reincarnation and the cycle of it. But they do talk about a 4th body here, which is the essential body, and a 5th body. So it could go on, but we are starting to narrow it down, right? So we take a look at someone like Lucius and Julius, who are just two beings, and they do have a figure who is known for his dual aspect directly. I forget his name. Two-faced god. Janus. Rhymes with anus. Joke. But anyway, this is pretty much him. He's the god of beginnings and ends, transition. You see it right here. Time. I nailed that. Okay. God of beginnings, gates, transitions, time, duality, doorways, passages, and ending. Right? So he's the alpha and the omega, the beginning and the end and everything in between. What is time? It's literally beginning, end, and everything in between. So I do think that part of this Lucius and Julius relationship heavily insinuates that Tabata's taking this from Janus, this particular deity. There's a lot to read on, and I don't really feel like getting into it, but again, this is some reading that you guys could do yourself. Now, that is a lot of reading, but I think I've only got to maybe about here. So, really cool figure. Essentially transcends pantheons. I do think they talk about him as maybe the Roman. The Roman god or whatever. In this particular site, but does end up going into other pantheons, as lore does tend to cross anyway, regardless of the deity. But the point of this whole thing, right, going from this Pill of Immortality, the Bodhi tree, the Mowgli, the way of yin and yang, to the triple body of Buddha, the double souls, and all that stuff in Black Clover, comes down to the point of enlightenment. And enlightenment is realizing the self for what it is and accepting the self for what it is. There is no more this part of me is good or this part of me is bad. It is just I'm me. And the detachment of what that means as well. You have no real attachment to any concepts that you took with you throughout your journey of life. All of that is just what it is. You're not holding any grudges. You don't. It's almost like a state of not caring anymore. And this grants you that enlightenment, that escape from the cycle of reincarnation. So I do think Asta will end up getting to this, and so this will bring us into what could be the last point for the stream right now, and it has to do with Keizokaku. Now, I talked about how I do believe she's got one form waiting for us. Now, I want to talk about it. And here it is. So, let's open it up. This is the Sky Fox, okay? And we'll just kind of read about this. So it says the sky fox, or celestial fox, is a type of divine beast in East Asian mythology. After reaching 1,000 years of age and gaining its 9th tail, the fox spirit turns golden color, becoming a sky fox. Now remember that Keizokaku is currently, and it has 9 tails, but is most specifically in a silver fox form. And they do specify in other sites as well that it's not just gold, it can be pure white as well. So those are things we're going to look out for. But anyway, the fox spirit turns a golden color, becoming a sky fox, the most powerful form of the fox spirit, and then ascends to the heavens. With its new celestial form, it is able to see 1,000 li ahead. Now, this is a particular set of miles, so 2440 miles. Okay, great. So that times 1,000, that's what, like 2 million-ish miles ahead, which is incredible. But also think of it in terms of like not so physical miles, but like like Ryu is looking into the future, right? That could be what that can be interpreted into, as well as physical. We do know that Ryu's able to see people like Charmy, who he says he's never met. He calls her a glutton, right? So this could be both physical and metaphysical. And this is why earlier I had said that I believe that Ryu could be a kitsune, regardless of his name. But I think this kind of omnipotence ends up being something that all of them can achieve. So the history. The mythology of multi-tailed foxes originate from the beliefs of ancient China, a collection of stories dating from the Jin dynasty, known as I can't even say that, records. When a fox reaches the age of 50, it is able to transform into a woman. At 100 years old, a beauty or a female shaman who knows about outside affairs 1,000 li away. So that's a long, because remember, it's not just miles, that's 2,440 miles, so 1,000 of those. Its kindness and charm make people confused and demented. At 1,000 years, the fox connects with the sky and is transformed into a sky fox. According to legend, it is said that there are 3 ways to make a fox open its mind and gain wisdom. Now, this is enlightenment. This is exactly enlightenment. Opening its mind and gaining wisdom. The first is to swallow treasures by accident, such as the treasures of heaven and earth. The second is for the fox to find a good place to cultivate its spiritual virtues. As foxes are yin, specifically yin energy, they need a lot of yin air. So, containing the essence of the moon in order to work at self-improvement. So this sentence here gives us a lot of context, and when we put it along with Black Clover, we've talked about you don't want just yin energy, you don't want just yang energy. Here they say foxes are yin, specifically yin. That's the energy that they have. When we look at what we were just talking about with the Ryuzen having this, bipartite nature, this dual nature, right? Someone in Hino, probably Ryu, has found this balance that makes a more potent product as far as being a mage goes. So whatever Keizokaku has done to attain this dual nature is more than likely due to the fact that she has attained a yang nature to her, because the kitsune is the yin already. So now with both of them, she's more or less balanced, but the fact that they're not meshed together and non-distinguishable means that she still has one more step to go. And the same can be said about the rest of the Ryuzen. They talk about movies here. You don't really need to know about the movies, but every 100 years, a catastrophe occurs. It was believed that if a fox could go through it smoothly, it will grow a new tail. The number of 9-tailed foxes is small because many foxes, unfortunately, interrupted their practice of self-cultivation or died during the 3 to 5-tail period. When the fox reaches 1,000 years of age, it will become the 1,000-year heavenly fox, formally gaining the heavenly court's canonization and obtaining the immortal rank. The Edo period of Japan, Tenko, were considered to be of the highest rank of foxes. Now, I do want to say that this word Tenko is very close to the word Tenki, which means heaven. I believe Tenko ends up meaning sky here, though. And in the essays of the Zenan Zuihitsu, the foxes are ranked in the order of Tenko, Kuko, Kiko. What's her name? Keizokaku. Interesting. And then Yako. I think Yako is like the evil fox, right? The spirit possession of fox, that's Stolen Kyoshu. They're the Nogitsune, the Yako are. Okay. Also in Nihon Shoki, in the 9th year of Emperor Jomei, the Great Shooting Star was written as, that's formerly read as Tengu, and it was given the reading of Amatsu Kitsune, and from this, the essay Zenan Zuihitsu put forth the theory that Tenko and Tengu are the same creature. Furthermore, at the first ridge of the Fushimi Inari Taisha, a male fox by the name of Osugi is worshipped as Suehiro. Now, I just want to point out that this name is one letter away from being Sukehiro. I'm just going to say that much. So is worshipped as Suehiro Daijin. However, these foxes are always the divine messengers of Inari Okami. Inari are also foxes that directly serve beings like Benzaiten, which is why they put Okami there, because they're like the god of foxes, and not Inari Okami himself. In Ojika Nagasaki, the Tenko is a type of spirit possession, and it's said that those who are possessed by it have a divination ability that is always correct, and is thus a divine spiritual power. Oh, sorry. Wow, I went full dyslexic on that. And is thus a divine spiritual power. So, I thought that was a really cool thing to add, right? Silver Fox, really, I don't think it has a place in mythology. I haven't been able to see anything about it, but to have a golden fox tells me that Tabata might be planning on giving her another form that, of course, is higher than that. Now, why is gold so important, though? Because we saw it in the Pill of Immortality tab. We've talked about it before on the channel multiple times. But why is gold important? Gold is the sought-after alchemical metal, right? It's the most important thing. This is the pinnacle of perfection. And when we take the idea of perfect bodies in a series about magic and alchemy go hand in hand. And then we have a guy like Nozel who's got something like Mercury, which we have explicitly talked about in regards to the alchemical processes and where it is at gold, right? And we've even put together puzzle pieces that take Megicula and her want for Asier specifically, and Lolo Pechka and Vonica to create her malevolent incantation. And long video short comes out that the attribute of Asier mixed with the blood and the water in alchemy is life. Blood is the essence of life. And then you have a metal. Her particular metal, I'm forgetting off the top of my head, is supposed to bring that what is it? I think it's supposed to just bring you that physical part of the body. So all of those combined gives you life, right? That's pretty much what we came to. So we have to keep looking at how we can connect these things. These are very subtle context things that are being dropped in the series that are very, very hard or easy to miss. I kind of lost my train of thought there. But anyway, should she realize a golden form or a pure light form, this will really start to get us out of Hino. Because if she has one, remember it says that they'll ascend to the heavens, right? And remember that the Devas and the Bodhi are beings that have prolonged their enlightenment in order to get people to achieve that themselves. So they're really taking one for the team for the benefit of the team, right? And so this could be like a last resort thing. Something that they can probably do or realize they can do, but realize that them, achieving that enlightenment means abandoning the mission that they sought out for, which was protecting those that are looking to ascend past the cycle of reincarnation. So it could be more of, it's an ace in the hole, but essentially this means a type of metaphysical death. They would no longer be earthbound, I would say. So it's just a matter of what it looks like for everyone else, though. But this was the first thing I found. which I think is really cool, and I would definitely be down to see something like that. And of course, I do think the last form of Asta is going to be one of a few colors. My first thought was red, because in alchemy, red is the ultimate color of perfection. White or gold. So we'll definitely see what happens, and I think it'll be very interesting to see how this manifests with Asta. And what makes his particular situation a bit more special, which I believe that this Ryuzen has pointed out, where he's fighting Asta, and I think he mentions like, "Oh, I see why Ryu wanted me to fight you." Right? Oh yeah, he says, "No wonder he left this up to me." Oh, and I can see why Ryu finds you so interesting. So if we look at this dual nature, right? Asta and Liebe would be that dual nature. Asta is him. Liebe would be the more severe version of Asta. No matter how tame he is now, he's still a devil. So his dual nature has manifested separately, right? So where Asta has never done or even thought of doing the wrong thing, ever. Even when it was okay to do something wrong, he never did it, right? One of those instances was against Ledros. Ledros said, "You can end me. Like, it's just the way of the battlefield." And Asta was like, "No, like you're gonna atone for your sins and blah blah blah." He did the same thing to the Eye of the Midnight Sun. He did it to many people. He did it to Patri. Every time he could have killed someone, he took the highest route and opted not to, and gave them an alternate way of viewing life. Then you have the devil aspect of him. Now, not to say that Liebe has done really anything evil that we know of. It's just devils are devils. They have that energy, that negative energy that they do talk about throughout the series. So for him to be split into two physically is something very, very special, I would think, which is why he would point something like this out, right? Because Asta right here has this devil form. Now, consider this. Not one Ryuzen who's fought Asta or who's witnessed Asta, which is all 7, plus Ryu, has ever made a comment about the way his devil union looks, or his black form, or anything. Not one. And you would think that they would find it a bit odd, maybe scary, but they don't seem to care. It's almost like they've seen it before, right? And again, this goes back to them not even batting an eye at Liebe and treating him as if he was just like somebody else. When, let's say, if Liebe were to, he literally washed up in the Forbidden Realms, and everyone tried to kill him because he's a devil. But these guys knew that he was a devil and treated him anyway. Think about that. That's wild, right? So they know things that they're not telling us. They're not telling Asta right now. And it might just be because he needs to go through a self-revelation. They can't give him the answers. And although, to be fair, this Ryuzen in particular did kind of give him an answer. You're hesitating far too much, right? And he kind of puts him on game. He's like, I can cut anything that's in front of me because I believe that I can do it. That's essentially what he's saying. And Asta, I believe it was in like the last chapter. Oh no, it was this chapter. Asta realizes that. He's right. I have been hesitating. Every time Asta gets into these situations, he's comparing himself to Hino subconsciously, right? And even here he says like, oh no, that part was in the last chapter. He says, if Hino were there, Lily might have been saved, right? He lives based on regret of not being strong enough, but he is extremely strong. But this hesitation has been killing him this entire time. And this is something that he needs to work out himself. It's just like, it's one of those things. You can lead a horse to water, but you can't force the horse to drink it, right? This is a part of the enlightenment process that Asta will end up getting, if he's not already almost there. And I'm curious as to what happened. Oh no, it was this chapter. I'm mixing up all my chapters. But yeah, this is where he's doubting himself. He's comparing himself to Hino. But then we see this light, right? So whatever happened here, I believe, was something very close to like how we saw Devil Union form that light, right? I think in that moment he was able to become enlightened. And yeah, I remember people used to roast me back in the day on this channel about how I'd point this out. Anytime people start sweating upwards in Black Clover, something crazy is happening or about to happen. For Asta, I think he was able to reach that state of enlightenment just for maybe just a second, maybe a few seconds, maybe a minute, and was able to become something much greater than he usually is. And that goes back to what we saw, or what we talked about initially when we started this talks about enlightenment and Zen, right? It's called the state, the no sword state, right? This is where swordsmen achieve enlightenment through the practice of kenjutsu, or swordsmanship. And this is what he's doing, coupled with that the Ryuzen who plays the biwa in the tree, with that kododama or the kodama magic that he might have, that are supposed to trigger these intense feelings and emotions to get you to that point, may have sped up that process. So it was Ryuzen really set him up to succeed, and he pit him against Ichika initially to realize the gap in strength and exactly what he needs to do. Because remember, Asa was like, he's realizing the value of Zen and what he needs to do. So having that in battle, like, okay, the physical thing of becoming stronger is going to happen with Ichika. This guy is just there to not only extend his physical training, but to make sure that he's able to abandon all of those extra thoughts that he's having on the battlefield by enlightening him and really just putting him on game to a more higher level of existence. But yeah, I mean, that's pretty much the meat of what I initially wanted to talk about anyway. I'll kind of go through my profile here to see if there's anything that I maybe missed or maybe need to elaborate on. Feel free to jump in the comments here to I hate you. Is that what the stream is called? I hope not. That's wrong. Although Ryu could be the song, guys. Oh look, it's late as hell. Of course Jack's streaming. Hell yeah, I am. Which are I was gonna go off and I don't want to spoil the surprise for everyone. Okay. Is anyone else curious about Mario Leona? Is that just me? I'm curious. Question for the chat though. This is it. Okay, I don't want to spoil it. I want you to be swayed. But between the two, between everything that we've seen, anything that you can speculate, no wrong answers here. Who wins? Beelzebub or Lucifera? Leave it in the comments. I want to know. I really, really want to know. Let's see. I know I was trying to leave a list of things I wanted to talk about like a week ago, and I never got to stream. So I'll try and find that as I get some answers. Hopefully you guys decide to talk to me this time. Jeez. This was just interesting. I needed to know which version of Dante was older. I know he's got this little beard patch, but like that doesn't really mean anything as far as age goes. I'm just saying. So, because I was really wondering, like, I was convinced that he already had Lucifero at this point. Because remember in the anime, Lois leans over to Ciel and goes like, "We can't trust the Triad. We don't even know where they came from." You know, so I had assumed that he already had the Devil's power here, but there were no markings. But here, he does have a marking. But they look younger, and it's not. And I don't ask that because Dante, might look older in that picture. But Vonica next to him does actually look significantly younger than she is when she's within the forces of the Spade Kingdom. So it's just something I don't know. But I was kind of speculating, like, these marks. We still don't know the circumstances of their possessions at all, and it's obviously different from what Asta and Nox have because they don't have any marks like that. And the mark that Asta does have is due to a 50-50 contract, right? And the arm was due to sacrificing that arm to Libe. So there's no real sacrifice here. Like, I mean, what is he sacrificing? Like space on his forehead? Like it just doesn't make sense. So there's something that we don't quite know about the state of their possession. So it's tough to say. It is tough to say. Oh, this was interesting. Let's give a little read if you haven't read that already. Let's see. Who is outside right now? She's having a time. Bro, she's talking so loud. Can you hear them? Let's see. That's the sugar daddy post right there. Damn, dude, I post too much. Oh, here's the. So, guys, okay. This might take a bit, but let's talk about this. So I'm gonna end up making this a thread at some point. It's gonna be kind of long though. So I've been procrastinating. But check this out. To me, it seems that Yami has been telling us his story through the recruiting of the Black Bolts, right? I think they remind him and are supposed to tell us different aspects of his life from Hino to present day. And I think it's really cool because of the imagery of a certain recruit that made me think this. So the recruit that remember we were talking about Black Stars, right? And how we had already talked about this on Twitter and on here on stream. This is where I got it from, because all of this, there was no real reason to add these little black star looking things. Then you look at Black Stars and then you realize they have the same property that dark magic has. It's similar to a black hole. Not quite a black hole, but very similar. It has these free fall properties and draws in light, things like that. It's crazy. And it has like some type of gravitational pull that dark magic does canonically have. So now, the first thing I did realize, as far as recruiting goes, before I put this together, was that he found Charmy. And as you can see, he's got these lines on the side of his face. He's obviously a bit dumbfounded, confused, because Charmy looks exactly like the thing that they idolize in Hino. It's like, is this really the tea-serving bot that I caught like out in the woods? What is this? So it's just like a direct reminder of Hino. And then what really got me thinking was him recruiting Gauche. And this is the part that is the most special, because here we have a crescent moon, and we have a crescent moon here once the clan has been slain. What makes this interesting is the relationship the moon has with Buddhism. A crescent moon means that, let's say it like this. The more of a moon you have, the closer to enlightenment one is driven to, or is attaining. Here, and of course this goes off the phases of the moon as well. You have from the new moon to a full moon, waning and waxing gibbous, all that stuff, right? So right now, the shadow is lifting off of the moon, going towards a full one. Here, a new era has started. So we would assume that before this, there was no moon, and then now it's a crescent. It's becoming a full moon over time. And then here, it's a bit more full. And he's now realizing a new life. You have to realize. He's forming a completely new identity within the realm of the Four Kingdoms. And he has to start all over again. Right? So, then we just kind of look at everything. And I haven't formally formulated this thought, but we can kind of spitball what's happening here, right? Magna and Luck were kind of like the people who introduced us to the real nature of the Black Bulls. Where we have Magna and Luck, we have two guys from two completely different walks of life, right? We know Luck, what is he related to, a royal or a noble? Like the bastard child, something like that. When Magna is just like the lowest of the low kind of bum, ragtag guy, but has a great set of morals and ethics, right? But best friends. Could have reminded him of Ryu and himself, initially, right? Then we have, let's see, Finral. Let's see, what can we draw from Finral? He's got a sibling that does not like him. Yami has a sibling that also does not like him. Well, she might like him better now, but as far as he knows, she doesn't like him. So that might have struck a chord with him as far as Finral goes. Someone that he can coach through. And it's one of those things where the teacher is not only teaching through experience, but by doing this is teaching themselves through a certain process, if that makes sense. Then we have Henry. Henry's family pretty much abandoned him. He lost his family. Yami, while not the same circumstance, he lost his family as well. He's alone where he is. But then you can kind of also attribute that to Gordon. I think Gordon's one of the cooler aspects here. Where Gordon's family at this time is tied to Megicula and, is not really, I guess, the best of examples as far as humans go, since they're working with devils, and especially that devil in particular. So he's kind of an outcast. And remember, Yami really didn't want anything to do with what his dad was ranting about this whole time, about, the Yami clan being, the greatest clan and like the greatest fighter, when they're talking about the Kiji. Just not about that life. And Gordon, of course, was not about that life either. So I think here, him and Gordon can relate. As far as Yami and Grey go, I have no clue right now. Still kind of going through it. Vanessa, though. I really like the Vanessa thing, because one of the weird things that stuck out to me early on into the series, especially against Veto in the Seabed arc, right, was when Yami finally comes down to help the crew out. Vanessa's a grown-ass woman. Like, she could be like his girlfriend or wife. But he does this thing where he like pats her on the head as if she's a little girl. And I think this is the way that Yami kind of views himself in relation to fate, right? He finds Vanessa in a cage. She's trapped. She's limited. And she's now faced with this decision in this picture that we see her, right? She's been trapped by this cage, and then there's a wall beyond that. But now she's been offered this opportunity. And this opportunity doesn't come without sacrifice. She'd be leaving her family, her friends, what little she did have there, and most namely the Witch Queen, her mother, behind, in hopes for a new and better life. And this could be that reminder that Yami has kind of pushed past fate in a way, where his life did end more or less that night, but now he's opportunity to create a new one with a new group of people that ultimately end up reminding him of himself and parts of Hino. And it could be that she might remind him of Ichika, who she was, right, before that incident. Zora, I don't quite know. You could argue, the dad thing, maybe? I don't know. I don't know. I'm stretching for Zora. I'm not quite sure. Asa is the new hope, right? And I think that's just as obvious as it gets. And for Sekre, I think that's just one of those things like, oh, yep, we'll just kind of induct you into this because you come with the package. But I just think it's really cool. Like, you can make a story out of all of this. But, and Noelle. Family didn't want her. I mean, I think Noelle could also remind him of Ichika, right? Because his family didn't want Ichika. Well, his dad didn't, at least. And Noelle was in that almost exact same situation. They have very similar temperaments as far as Noelle goes in the beginning of the series. So, and I know that they did ask him specifically, like, hey, like, she's our sister, we're royals, she needs a group, but she's not going to be in ours, so can you just, like, can you do this for me? So, it's more than that to me. I do think that she does remind him of Ichika when his dad was not really accepting of her existence because she was a woman. But I found that really cool. So you guys will be the first to hear that, but I will make that a thread as I kind of make the thought a bit more coherent as it comes along. But yeah, we kind of talked about this, and this is kind of what I was trying to put into image form, is that, maybe there could be a contract where you're able to attain just a piece of that heart, and maybe that's what it is. The Belphegor post, we talked about that. We talked about the phase of the moon. It's full here. I have every reason to believe that Ryu has reached some type of enlightenment. It's just a question of why he's still there. Now, oh man, I'm forgetting what it's called. But there is a type of entity that is almost ghostly. So, essentially, what it is that this being has died and since moved on. However, it remains in the earthly realm as more or less a ghost that can interact with the realm of the living. And I say this because we do have a man who originally had lots of magic power, apparently, but now has none. And we have to acknowledge the fact that dead things would not have mana too. So I'm curious if there's some type of thing happening here with Ryu. And I did kind of allude to this in another post, talking about how I can see Hino becoming or turning into a similar situation that we see in Demon Slayer in the beginning, where Tanjiro's training in the woods with these other students, but by the end he cuts a rock. That's actually, that whole arc is a direct, I won't say rip, but a direct translation of an actual legend that happened. But he cuts this boulder in half that's tied around, it's got a rope tied around it too, if I'm not mistaken, the Shiminawa rope. And all of those students that he was training with are actually dead, and they were just spirits that had manifested for him to become better and not make the mistakes that they made that, caused them to meet their own demise. So I wonder if that's almost the case with Ryu, with everyone there, though. So interesting. If I can remember the name, I'll post about it when I do remember it. But I did want to talk about that during a stream, but damn, I forgot what that is called. Yeah, this is craziness. Yep. What else? We talked about that. I think we hit all of them, you guys. Let's see. Okay. Small tangent here, but this is a post that I don't think everyone did see. I think it more or less got aired. Yeah. So this aqua regia, or in English is called royal water. This is a substance that is known to break things down, even the highest metal or alchemical metal, being gold, down to its base components. Now, here, as you can tell by reading, that I was hoping that Noelle would reach a new stage of water magic where she'd be able to, fend off against perfect bodies. But it does seem that it could fit Lily much better in her paladin state. Which is why I think Tabata might be hiding her water magic. It's not just water anymore. I think there are larger heights that magic is taken to when it becomes sacred. And remember, there was always that comment from the elf that fought Lily in the elf reincarnation arc that kind of questioned, like, what are you doing here? You've got the magic power of a royal or a noble. And we know Lily has been in the Hajj forever. So she's definitely different. And her magic is the only magic that has a straight up cross in it. Like, there's got to be something to that. And you purify that, what does that become? I don't know. That's all I'm saying. You know what I mean? Lily's a fraud. We know that. Okay. So I guess to talk a bit about the origin of Ryu. So Helix, who's usually in this chat, it might be too late for him, had pointed out to me that I didn't realize that they had taken Veto's body back directly to Julius for an autopsy and for examination. So obviously, it would make sense that his DNA was used to create this body, to be able to draw on this type of magic and be able to use it. Now, it's just more of a question of, is it the purified devil power that upgraded the beast magic into something more tangible, that he's able to summon these mythological creatures, as opposed to where Veto was only able to channel the idea of a creature, right? So cheetah magic would just make him really fast, right? Rhino made him more fortuitous. The whale magic helped them get to the Seabed Temple. Things like that. He was able to just channel that spirit, where he's able to actually summon these things because they exist. Something I didn't talk about when we talked about the Mowgli, though, was that I would like to know if that came directly from his grimoire. I know you can see the pages turning and all that. He's obviously activating the spell. But this could be another summoning like he did with the dragon, because the Mowgli, I just thought of the name. Remember I said I was like, I don't know the other name of the other type of thing. Oh, did I spell it wrong? It's something like this. Yagwai. Here we go. Is that they legitimately talk about it having to do with disruptions in ki. And it might be this. So here it is. Yagwai is a term for monsters or strange creatures. Yagwai or Yao-Mo, these are literally translated to strange ghost or daemon. Now, daemon is just a broad term, not just demon, but anything in between. Or Yao Jing, often translated as sprite or fairy, are loosely related terms. Do we need to talk about the etymology? We kind of did. Okay. Yeah, let's talk. Let's go through it. Because, again, this does have a lot to do with, like, the enlightenment stuff and the cycles of reincarnation and all that. And just ultimately gives us a better idea of what Ichika is facing, or what Asta will be facing. So now, the Yao Guai is a compound word consisting of two Chinese characters, Yao, which is a noun meaning monster or demon, and Guai means strange or unusual when used as an adjective, and monster or unusual creature as a noun. Each word individually signifies and connotes strangeness. Classical usages of both terms relate to preternatural phenomena and freakish occurrences where explanation fell outside the limited understanding of those observing them. These included freakish vegetation, eerie sounds, the unnatural onset of fog and darkness, as well as a sudden loss in verbal fluency or inability to express oneself. Yao are blamed for sudden outbreaks or confused and erratic action or transgressive behavior, with one saying being that when affairs go awry, there must have been a Yao, or acting. So I do want to take this and apply it to what happened with Ichika, right? If this might not be necessarily the first encounter with a Yao Guai, and it was in fact when she slayed her clan, that could make a lot of sense. And these are not things that would be readily seen by the human eye, but with this, with Real in play, he's able to be to summon these things into the plane of existence that they live in. In later terminology, Yao refers to natural objects, which are animals, plants, or rocks, which have acquired sentience or spiritual awareness, the ability to assume human or near human forms, supernatural or magical powers, as well as the ability to cultivate so as to achieve immortality or transcendence. In Wang Chang's first century text, The Balanced Discussions, things such as animals, plants, and rocks are said to be endowed a human-like essence and capacities as a result of immense age. We talked about this in other streams. We just talked about this, actually. What is that called, bro? Man, it's hard to keep up with all these Japanese names. But when objects have reached 99 years, specifically, into 100 years, they do end up gaining sentience. And they end up becoming enshrined and more or less worshipped. Now, Guai is much broader and can refer to any kind of monstrous entity, whether inherently magical or not. It includes chimeric species of various kinds, such as found in the classic of mountain and seas, as well as quasi-humanoid entities such as the blank. I can't read those. Like, why would they assume that I can read this? Like, my kanji sucks, dude. Which possess inconsistent or overlapping descriptions. Read together in the modern era, whatever the hell this is a Chinese umbrella term that generally means eldritch monster, and includes a wide range of entities which have a resemblance to the goblins and the unseelie fairies of the other cultures. The term is usually used in Chinese mythology, folklore, and popular entertainment. I don't know what an unseelie is. Oh, just happy, lucky, blessed. Okay. Cool. Alright, now the actual mythology here. A Yao is a supernatural creature with uncanny properties, usually dwelling in remote wilderness or at fringes of civilization, and arising as the result of anomalies in the material force, otherwise known as Qi. So, think about the incident and think of Qi as a pervading force that is found all throughout nature, which it is. And we've talked about how there are disciplines of Buddhism or Taoism or Shintoism that acknowledge these things like plants, animals, rocks, and all that stuff with a force of Qi. So to have a major incident like the massacre of the Yami clan happen, this would of course create an anomaly which could end up creating a Yao. So I just thought that was really interesting that they would specifically say this. In folklore, the characteristic attributes include a strange or otherworldly nature, attractiveness and beauty, and the ability to seduce or compel, and their association with ill omens or misfortune. Typical powers ascribed to them include shape-shifting, the creation of illusions to lead astray, and mind control for the purposes of seduction and enthrallment. Now, this is exactly what seems to be happening with this creature in Ichika right now. In their tendencies and powers, they have some resemblance to the fairies of European lore. However, the whatever often partake or share in the essential nature of an animal or a plant. A vixen, a snake, a butterfly, or a tree, or a flower, is capable of assuming human or near human form and of wielding supernatural powers, as well as developing other abilities due to talus cultivation. Now, this could easily be applied to someone like Ryu as well if we take that ghost theory into account. But just not evil. And there is a name for that, but again, I am totally, it's just evading me right now. Yaogwai are distinct creatures from ghosts and demons. Ghosts are the spirit of the deceased, whereas demons are often described as fallen, immortals, and gods. Famous Yaogwai include the Skeleton Spirit, the Bull Demon King, Pibajing, Jito's Shijijing, Sun Wukong uses the term often to insult his demonic adversaries. So, I don't think I need to read the rest, unless you guys want me to, but, that's pretty much the idea behind the Yaogwai. I just thought it was worth mentioning that, because there were two types of things. But back to Ryo. So I do believe he's made from Veto's DNA. I think this is one instance where he's probably made from scratch. And I think, of course it comes from the triad. As we saw, Lucius was able to recreate Morris's, the missing part of Morris's body. But with Veto's DNA and the triad, and plus the tree, he might be able to make a whole body. Now, I include the tree because something that was more or less arbitrary happened in the advent of the Clipot. And that was when Lucifero was said to be fusing with the tree itself. It made no sense at the time. However, what seems to have been happening was that he was just making that husk for himself, an actual body, to be able to compress everything in, essentially. So I think that using that concept with Veto's DNA, the triad, and plus the soul and incarnation magic, we're able to produce a being named Yuru. Just very interesting, I think. So, just wanted to throw that out there. And another reason why I arrived at the tree is that his name is Yuru, and a very odd name. It doesn't seem to have any specific origin. However, with a Y in the beginning of the name, it reminds me of the Norse tree Yggdrasil, which also starts with a Y. So that's kind of how I started thinking about that. And then the Lucifero idea popped up and all that. So that's cool. That's kaiju. Let's see. Talked about that. I think by the way, this is Gene. He popped in the chat for a bit. Well, you guys should probably see him there. But yeah, this is his chapter 1, Rectify. Super cool. You can also find on his page the power system. And I'm telling you, his power system is one of a kind. I love it. This is it right here, by the way, guys. Really cool. Really cool. I really suggest looking into it. Teen Wolf movie coming out. Gotta love it. Gotta love it. I think that's it. I think we got it all. Enjoying this read, by the way, guys. This is life-changing stuff right here. Oh yeah. Lily's interaction with Beelzebub could be cool. Yeah, I think we done got it all, y'all. Yep. Yeah, I think that's it, you guys. So, with that said, I thank you guys for joining this stream. I will try my best to kind of stream more, but as you guys can see, Black Clover's going on a bit of a break again. But we might still get spoilers, so it depends on what happens. But yeah, looking forward to that. But yeah, thank you guys for tuning in. Love you guys. Stay safe, stay out the way. It's been Jack Wants to Go. You either know or you don't.